It all began on the most ordinary day. I was sitting in our cozy living room, aimlessly scrolling through my phone feed, when I heard a car pull up to the house. It was already past midnight, but I knew it was her. My wife, Anna, had returned from a 3-day business trip. Business trips were routine for her. But this time, her messages had been unnaturally enthusiastic. The door opened, and she stood on the threshold with a suitcase in one hand and her phone in the other. Her face was glowing with a joy I hadn't seen in a very long time. She was laughing, probably at a joke or a message on her phone. For a moment, I thought the trip must have gone especially well. Productive meetings. Good news from her boss. I almost smiled, happy to see her in such high spirits. "Hi, honey," she said brightly, kicking off her heels and setting the suitcase by the door. You can't imagine what a crazy trip it was. So many meetings, but we nailed the presentation. It's going to be a breakthrough for the company. I nodded and gave a faint smile. "Great, Anya. Sounds like it all went perfectly." "Yeah," she replied, still beaming, and buried herself in her phone again. And the food at the restaurant they took us to, incredible, like Michelin level. I watched her and noticed an unusual flush in her cheeks. There was something different about her, something I couldn't place. Her energy was excessive, and that laugh. She kept giggling at her phone, the same carefree laugh I hadn't heard from her in years. A stab of jealousy pricked me for a second, not because she was happy, but because I wasn't the reason for that happiness. I walked over and hugged her. "You seem so happy," I said, half joking. "Maybe you should go on business trips more often." She laughed again, but this time it sounded nervous. "Yeah, maybe," she answered, pulling away and reaching for the suitcase. "I'll just unpack really quick." As she headed to the bedroom, everything clenched inside me. Maybe it was the way she avoided my eyes, or how she clutched her phone as if it held some secret. I couldn't shake the feeling that her excitement wasn't just about a successful trip. When she left the room, I stayed in the living room, staring at the empty doorway. That's when I noticed something strange. Her laughter had fallen silent. An ominous quiet settled over the house. Curiosity got the better of me. I crept silently to the bedroom. At the door, I heard her muttering under her breath. "No, no, no," she whispered, panic in her voice. "This can't be! Not now!" I peeked in and saw her sitting on the edge of the bed with the suitcase open in front of her. She was holding a sheet of paper, and her face had gone white. The smile had vanished from her face, replaced by horror. Her hands trembled as she stared at what she had found in the suitcase. "What happened?" I asked, stepping into the room. She flinched and quickly shoved the paper back in. "Nothing," she said, forcing a laugh that didn't match the fear in her eyes. "Just work stuff." I raised an eyebrow. "Work stuff? You look like you've seen a ghost." She shook her head and snapped the suitcase shut. "It's fine," she said, standing up and brushing past me. "I'm just tired. I'll tell you tomorrow, okay?" Without letting me answer, she left the room and went to the bathroom. The door slammed, and I was left standing there, confused, my suspicion only growing stronger. Something was wrong. Everything inside me screamed that she was hiding something. I knew I wouldn't calm down until I learned the truth, and I did the one thing I never thought I would do. Waiting until she got into the shower, I opened her suitcase. What I found inside made my blood run cold. I hesitated, staring at the suitcase as if it were Pandora's box. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't stop. I needed to know what she was so desperate to hide. I slowly unzipped the compartment and lifted the lid. At first glance, everything looked normal. Clothes, toiletries, a folder with papers. But digging deeper, I found something that made my stomach twist. Beneath the clothes lay an elegant gift box, tied with a red ribbon. There was no name on it. but the size and shape triggered instant alarm. It looked too personal, too intimate. With trembling hands, I carefully opened it. Inside was a set of black lingerie far more revealing than anything she had ever worn for me. Questions raced through my head. Why would she take that on a business trip? And more importantly, why did I know nothing about it? Then I noticed a small card tucked between the folds of fabric. My heart sank as I read the words written in her handwriting. For the evening when we're alone. My chest tightened, and a wave of nausea washed over me. Now it was obvious. This wasn't an innocent oversight. This was proof. Proof that my wife had been lying to me. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the card as thousands of thoughts rushed through my head. Who was this we? Someone from her office? Someone she met on the trip? I needed answers, but I knew I couldn't cause a scene without evidence. If I pounced now, she would deny everything. I had to be clever. I carefully put everything back, closed the suitcase, and set it aside. Then I grabbed my phone and started looking for signs of unusual activity. My hands shook so badly I could barely type, but I managed to log into our shared mobile account. What I saw only deepened the heaviness in my chest. Her call history showed numbers I didn't recognize, and the conversations were long. One number stood out in particular. It appeared every day of her trip, sometimes several times a day. I copied the number into a reverse lookup service. The result came quickly. The number belonged to a man named Mark Sokolov. The name meant nothing to me, but the conclusions were obvious. Whoever he was, he played an important role in her business trip. I stared at the name on the screen, trying to process it all. An unfamiliar colleague? A client? Or something more? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was piling up, and it didn't look good. The bathroom door opened, and I quickly locked my phone and slipped it into my pocket. Anna walked into the bedroom with damp hair and no makeup. She looked at me with a strange mix of guilt and caution, as if she sensed I knew something. "Are you okay?" she asked, a bit too casually. "You look kinda pale." I forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired." She nodded, but her gaze lingered on me longer than usual. Then she got into bed and closed her eyes, as if nothing had happened. I lay down beside her, staring at the ceiling. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I couldn't. I kept seeing the card, the lingerie, and that name Mark Sokolov. I knew I had to dig deeper, but I couldn't let her know I was onto her. Not yet. At dawn, I made a decision. I would find out the truth, no matter how bitter it turned out to be. I took my phone and started making plans. If she thought she could keep a secret from me, she was in for a rude awakening. The next morning, I decided to act as if nothing had happened. Anna woke up as if everything were normal, humming to herself while she made coffee. From the outside, you'd think she didn't have a care in the world. But I couldn't forget the fear on her face. Over breakfast, I tried to get her talking. "So, any interesting stories from the trip?" I asked casually. She froze for a split second, then gave me her usual smile. "Nothing special," she shrugged. "Just work, meetings, presentations. Same as always. Nothing exciting." I nodded, pretending to believe her. "Must have been exhausting." "Yeah," she said, glancing at her phone. "But it was worth it. The client liked our idea. We might close the deal next week." Her answer was smooth too smooth. I knew she was lying, but I didn't press. I needed proof, and for that I needed access to her phone. After breakfast, she went to shower, leaving her phone on the kitchen counter. My heart pounded as I picked it up and unlocked it. She'd always been careless with passwords. It was our wedding date. How ironic. I quickly opened her messages, and there they were, the threads with Mark Sokolov. My stomach twisted as I read. "Anya, I can't stop thinking about this weekend. It was perfect. Mark, you were perfect. I already miss you. I hate these secrets too, but it's worth it. It felt like the air was sucked out of the room. The messages left no doubt about what had happened during her business trip. My chest tightened as I scrolled further and found photos she had sent him. Selfies in a hotel room, her in that same black lingerie. I couldn't look anymore. I put the phone back. When she came out of the shower, I acted as if everything was normal. "I'm going to step out for a bit," I said, grabbing my keys. "Okay," she replied, not looking up from her phone. "See you later." As I drove away, I felt a mixture of anger, pain, and resolve. I wasn't the type to let something like this slide, but I wasn't impulsive either. I needed a plan. I pulled into an empty parking lot and called a private investigator. The detective, whose name was Victor, listened to me. "I'll take the case," he said. "I'll need her schedule, any info on this man, access to email, call history." I gave him everything, including the messages from that morning. Victor promised to start immediately. Hanging up, I felt slight relief. Now I was taking action. For the next few days, I behaved as usual. I laughed at Anya's jokes, listened to her stories, kissed her goodnight. All the while knowing the truth. It was unbearably hard. But I kept reminding myself that the truth was worth it. Then, one evening, Victor called. "I've got something," he said seriously. "You need to see this." The next morning, I claimed an urgent meeting and drove to a small cafe on the outskirts of the city. Victor was already there. A folder lay on the table. "You're not going to like this," he said quietly, "but you have to see it." With trembling hands, I opened the folder. The first thing I saw was a series of photographs. There was Anna, laughing with a man I immediately recognized as Mark Sokolov. They were sitting at a hotel bar. Their body language said it all. In one photo, his hand rested on her thigh. In another, they held hands as they entered the elevator. My stomach cramped. But the worst was yet to come. Victor pointed to a flash drive in the folder. "There's more," he said. "Footage from the hotel's security cameras. It confirms everything." I couldn't bring myself to watch it right there in the cafe. The photos alone were enough to make my blood boil. "How long has this been going on?" I whispered. "Judging by everything, several months," Victor replied. "They met during her business trips." It wasn't a one-time mistake. I felt the ground give way beneath me. Months. She had lied to me for months, meeting this man while I stayed home, trusting and loving her. The betrayal was deafening. "There's one more thing," Victor said, pulling out a printout. "A booking confirmation. They have a joint vacation planned in 2 weeks. They're flying to a resort in Sochi." I clenched my fists, staring at the paper. She wasn't even going to stop. She was already planning the next rendezvous. The sheer audacity made my blood boil, but I swallowed my anger. If I was going to talk to her, it would be on my terms. I needed to make sure there was nowhere for her to slip away. After thanking Victor, I left the cafe with the folder and the flash drive. I carried the weight of the world, but at the same time, I felt a strange clarity. Suspicion was behind me. Now I had cold, indisputable truth, and I had to decide what to do with it. That evening, I sat in my car in an empty parking lot, staring at the flash drive. I needed to watch the video, but I was afraid of what I'd see. I inserted the drive into my laptop. The videos were time-stamped. The first clip showed Anna and Mark meeting in the hotel lobby, their faces lighting up at the sight of each other. The next clip at the bar, laughing and chatting like newlyweds. Then the elevator, several seconds of kissing before the doors closed. Skipping ahead, I saw the final clip. The two of them entering a hotel room. The time confirmed they didn't come out until morning. I closed the laptop and leaned back, feeling as if I'd been punched in the gut. The evidence was irrefutable, but it also gave me a strange sense of power. For the first time in days, I felt in control. She thought her secret was safe, But now I had everything to bring the truth into the light. A simple confrontation wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, but without any room for excuses. Over the next few days, I kept calm, pretending life went on as usual, and prepared for the conversation. I made copies of all the evidence photos, messages, videos, and saved them on multiple drives. I even printed out a few key screenshots. This wasn't going to be a shouting match. I wanted to present cold, indisputable facts. The right moment came. In the evening, while she sat on the couch with her phone, I suggested we have a serious talk. She looked curious, but not worried. She had no idea what was coming. When she sat down, I placed the folder on the coffee table. Her eyes flicked to it, and I caught a flash of panic. "What's that?" she asked, her voice unsteady. "Something I need to show you," I said calmly. "But first I want to ask, do you have anything you want to tell me, Anya? Absolutely anything." She froze, her face turning pale. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I said firmly. "I'm giving you one chance to be honest with me. If you're hiding something, now is the time to confess." She opened her mouth, but didn't say a word. She looked like she was trying to come up with an excuse, but nothing came. When she didn't answer, I opened the folder and laid the photos in front of her. "These are from your business trip," I said, my tone icy. "Recognize them?" Her eyes widened, her hands shook. "I can explain," she stammered. "Oh, I don't doubt it," I cut her off. "But before you start, look at this." I pulled out the laptop and played the elevator clip. The color drained completely from her face. "It's not what it looks like," she whispered. "It's exactly what it looks like," I snapped. "You lied to me. You betrayed me. And you thought you'd get away with it." She tried to say something, but I didn't let her. "I know about Mark. I know about Sochi. I know everything, Anya. So tell me, how long were you planning to keep this up? Waiting for me to figure it out on my own?" Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt no pity. This wasn't a moment for sympathy. This was the moment she had to face the consequences of her actions. Anya sat frozen, staring at the evidence. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but I didn't yield. They were crocodile tears. I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It just happened." I leaned back and crossed my arms. "It just happened? That's the best you've got?" "Anya, affairs don't just happen. You made deliberate choices. You lied to me, planned trips, met in secret. Don't insult me by pretending it was an accident." She lowered her eyes, wringing her hands. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she mumbled. "This far?" I repeated, raising my voice. "You've been sneaking around with this man for months, and you're already planning a trip to Sochi with him. How far were you going to take it? Run away with him? Leave me like some discarded thing?" She shook her head, panic in her voice. "No, I swear. I wasn't going to leave you. You just what?" I interrupted, slamming my hand on the table. "Wanted a little thrill? Something new? Was I not enough for you?" Her silence was deafening. She couldn't even look at me, and that told me everything I already knew. We sat in silence for a long time. The weight of it all hung heavy in the air. Finally, she spoke. "I never stopped loving you," she said, barely audibly. I let out a bitter laugh. "You don't do this to someone you love, Anya. You don't lie to their face, betray their trust, and run around hotels with someone else. So spare me. I don't believe it." Tears poured harder. She covered her face with her hands. "I don't know why I did it," she sobbed. "I was stupid, selfish. I wasn't thinking." "That much is obvious," I said coldly. "But now you'll have to think, Anya, because this won't end with your tears and my forgiveness. Your actions have consequences." She looked at me, horror flickering in her tear-streaked eyes. "What do you mean?" "I mean this," I said, pulling out a stack of printouts and tossing them on the table. This is going to our lawyer. I'm filing for divorce." Her jaw dropped. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "No, wait! We can fix this!" she begged, reaching for my hand. "Please, give me a chance." I pulled my hand away and shook my head. "You don't get to fix anything after months of lies and cheating, Anya. You destroyed any chance we had to work things out. I can't trust you anymore, and without trust, there's nothing left between us." Her sobbing grew louder, but I didn't allow myself to feel guilty. This was her doing, her betrayal, and she'd have to face the fallout. I stood, took the folder and laptop. "I'll be staying at a hotel tonight," I said firmly. "I need space to think about my next steps. You can stay here, but don't expect things to go back to normal. This is the beginning of the end." As I turned to leave, she cried out, her voice trembling. "Please don't do this. I'll do anything. Just don't go." I paused in the doorway and looked back at her one last time. The sight of her, shattered and desperate, should have hurt, but I felt only emptiness. "You already left," I said quietly, "the moment you chose him over me." And with that, I walked out and closed the door behind me. I drove aimlessly for hours, trying to clear my head. A toxic mix of anger, betrayal, and heartache raged inside me. I never imagined my life would come to this, that the person closest to me would fail me so completely. Anya's pleas still echoed in my ears, but they only made me angrier. She wasn't worried about me, only about being caught. Eventually, I pulled into the parking lot of a small motel. It was cheap and worn down, exactly what I needed. A place to be alone, far from her. I checked in and sat on the bed, staring at the folder I'd brought. I opened it again, flipping through the evidence. Every photo, every message cemented my decision. There was no going back. Anna had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. His name was Artem, recommended by a colleague. I told him everything about Anna, about the affair, about the evidence. He listened without judgment and laid out my options. "With this proof, things can be fairly straightforward," Artem said. "But it depends on what you want. A clean break or something else?" I thought it over. Part of me craved revenge, to make Anna feel the same pain I felt. But another part just wanted it to be over. "I want a clean break," I said at last. "But I won't let her walk away unscathed. She has to be accountable." Artem nodded. "Fair enough. We'll start drafting the paperwork today. Do you have a place to stay?" "Yeah," I said, though the motel could barely be called living. "I'll manage." When I hung up, I felt a strange relief. For the first time in days, I had a plan. I wasn't just suffering. I was acting. Later that day, Victor called. "There's something you should know," he said seriously. "Mark's wife found out about the affair. I was taken aback." "He's married?" "Yep," Victor replied. "And his wife isn't going to keep quiet. She's threatening to make it public if Anna doesn't end it." A bitter smile crossed my face. The irony was too much. Anna wasn't just destroying our marriage. She was wrecking someone else's life too. "Let her make it public," I said. "Maybe Anna should feel what it's like when your world collapses." The following days flew by in a whirlwind. Artem moved quickly on the divorce papers, and I made sure everything was ready. Anna seemed like a shadow of her former self. Her confident, cheerful manner was gone, replaced by quiet, desperate sadness. She tried to apologize again, but I stood firm. "I can't do this anymore, Anya," I told her during one of our last conversations. "I deserve better. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it. I'm done being your safety net." Her tears no longer affected me. I had spent too many sleepless nights mourning the life I thought we had. But now, I was ready to let it go. The divorce process went surprisingly smoothly. With my evidence, Anna didn't contest anything. We split the assets fairly, and I kept the house. Mark's wife, as it turned out, did go public with the affair, and the fallout was brutal for both Anna and Mark. But that was no longer my concern. What surprised me most was how liberating it felt to let go of the anger and pain. I realized I had spent years in a relationship that wasn't as solid as I thought. Losing Anna wasn't the end of the world. It was a new beginning. I threw myself into rebuilding my life. I reconnected with old friends, returned to long-neglected hobbies, and for the first time in years, focused on my own happiness. It wasn't easy. Sometimes the pain came back, but those moments grew rarer. Months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop, reading a book and enjoying the quiet. That's when I met her, Katya. She sat at the next table, trying to balance a cup of coffee and her laptop. "Need a hand?" I asked, smiling. She laughed, her eyes lighting up. "Thanks. I swear I'm usually more coordinated." We started talking, and hours slipped by unnoticed. Katya was kind and funny. It was easy to talk to her. For the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope. After we exchanged numbers and said goodbye that evening, I realized something. I wasn't broken anymore. Yes, Anna's betrayal had hurt, but it hadn't destroyed me. I was stronger now, more confident in myself and in what I wanted from life. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means choosing the future over the past. And as I walked out of that coffee shop, I felt lighter, freer, and ready to embrace whatever came next. Sometimes life throws surprises that force you to reassess everything. But in the end, those trials can lead to something better if you let them. My story didn't end with betrayal. It ended with a new beginning. And for that, I am grateful.